I can't believe it's time to start another week. It's insane. It's crazy, insane. It's not retarded, but it's crazy, insane. You know what I need to post in the studio here, Jared?
What?
Probably lots of stuff.
There's so many things going through
so
my
many
mind.
things. Now, I need to go ahead and I need to research the University of Michigan's approved verbiage list. And you know how they said you're only allowed to say certain things and you can't say certain things. And you know that whole the whole speech Nazi thing where, well, we're for free speech, but free speech that we've decided that you're allowed to use. So I'm going to post the words and phrases that we're not supposed to say, according to the University of Michigan and their politically correctness. And what was the other one? Duke? Was it Duke or someplace in North Carolina where the students are like, be all inclusive and restrict your speech. You know what that story did, Jared? That story raped me.
I would say it made, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul, why would you do that? You say, why would you do that? Because I'm an American, and if you tell me that I can't do something, I'm also a contrarian. If you say, oh, you're not allowed, we're not going to allow you to do that, or we're going to tell you shouldn't, that is the absolute best way to get me to do something. But to my credit, if you want me to do something, Jared, if you tell me that I cannot do something or I'm not allowed to do something, what does it pretty much guarantee that I'm going to do?
That thing that you said that you were told not to do. That I
was told I can't do. Like let's say if someone were to tell me that I had marginal English skills.
Yeah, you might write a few books and become an author.
I might spend 2 decades.
You want to tell that story?
I don't know if we're ready for that story yet.
Okay, well,
maybe I got an idea. Why don't we save that story for the publication of the next book?
Okay.
I was someone, I don't know who it was, but they said, they're like, well, what do you mean by when you say professional writer? I've been reading
somebody that pays you to.
Yeah, and they're like, well, so if somebody sells one article, does that make them a professional writer? Well, in a technical sense,
that would be semi-professional.
That would be a semi-pro. Thank you for finishing that thought for me. They're like, well, what's a semi-pro? Like, if you're a semi-pro ball player or a semi-pro fighter, it means you get paid to do it, but you don't make your living doing that thing. For instance, Jared over here has been a semi-pro MMA fighter. And you're like, well, does that diminish the experience? No, it doesn't diminish the experience, but there are people, like a professional football player doesn't do anything else. He doesn't go out on the weekend and sell cars and insurance. I mean, he gets paid to play football, and that's how he makes his living. And there are people that contribute and write and produce material, and they get paid for it, but they don't necessarily make their entire living. They can't pay the mortgage and their truck payment and all that stuff with it. But we're not here to talk about all that jazz today. We're here to talk about rights. But before we talk about rights, we're going to talk about fun stuff. We're going to talk about, dude, there's this mythology about the shotgun pistol. Someone told me the other day, they're like, oh, yeah, there's a 12 gauge revolver pistol, and I'm like, no, there's not. Yeah, there is. I'm like, maybe somewhere on planet Earth there is, but not in the United States for sale to you. Oh, no, I'm sure there is. I'm like, no, there's not. And here's why. Because if you made a 12-gauge revolver pistol, even besides the fact that it would be ridiculously large and unwieldy.
That's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. That would be, it would be technically classified as a short-barreled shotgun. And it would be a Class 3 item, and you'd have to have a special ATF license or permit, tax stamp to own it. But today we're going to talk about handguns that shoot shot shells in addition to metallic cartridges. But before we get into that, Jared, is there anything else you want to we spent an entire weekend. We did the I hope you guys that are in the grad program enjoyed the Ken Blanchard interview. We're glad that we were able to bring that to you. And now that the the grad program has listened to it first, and we told them when we did it, what we were going to do is we're going to release it first. Grad program gets it first. They get to hear it first. And then later on, we're going to make it available to the public. And we're also going to share that material with Ken so he can put it on his site.
Yeah, and if you don't know who Ken Blanchard is, Black Man with a Gun is probably how you know it.
Black Man with a Gun.
BlackManWithAGun.com is that his website.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got
Blanchard Media.
Outdoors with
Blanchard
Ken
Outdoor Media.
BlanchardOutdoorMedia.com.
Yeah, he's
starting a new. Actually, it's yesterday. He aired his first, or I think it's a live show, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. He's doing a live radio show, Blanchard Media. I mean, we're talking about hunting and fishing and outdoor activities and what have you. So check him out. But yeah, if you go to blackmanwithagun.com, it's easy to remember. And he's been around a long time. He was one of our very first I Am a Student of the Guns back during season 1 or 2 when we met him at SHOT Show. We're like, hey Ken, we introduced ourselves and we're like, would you give us a I Am a Student of the Gun? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So anyway, we hope that you grad program people enjoyed that you bonus hour listeners enjoyed that, and that's essentially that's kind of the formula that we're working with right now. During the week, we'll get, if we have a special interview or we have a special guest or what have you, we get the interview down, we put it in the grad program hour, and then if we're feeling benevolent, we'll make it public sometime later if we're feeling benevolent.
Maybe, yeah. Most of the interviews are just going to be left in the grad program, but this is a kind of an important one, and I think that all of you guys will really like it.
It is, and since Ken is also a fellow, a media guy, and he has his own radio show, and he's got the Black Man with a Gun podcast. I think he has actually 3 or 4 shows that he's doing, but we're going to give him that audio material so he can share it with his audience as well. Well, it's Monday, and what does that mean? It means that it's time for the XS Sites Good Guy of the Week. And Jared he's got it queued up for you guys over there. He's got a new theme song.
And one of the main reasons I agreed with this song was because we do the XS Good Guy of the Week on Mondays. And I think that this will help you guys start your Monday on a good note.
That's what we want to do. We want you to start off on a happy note.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
If that song, that was, of course, Louis B. Armstrong, the great Satchmo, and if that song doesn't make you feel good, if that doesn't give you a little bit of a lift, if you don't get an uplifting feeling from that song, I hate to tell you this, but you have no soul. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
You have a black soul.
Yeah, you have a dark pit where your soul should be. And that is going to be... And until we change our minds, that's going to be the official Good Guy intro theme. And Jared's going to go ahead and tell you who our good guy was, what their question is, and then he's going to tell you what the good guy needs to do in case you guys don't know that. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about the red sites or the red Glock sites. As you guys know, those of you that follow us on Facebook and social media and all that jazz. Recently, we talked about the radio too, but I got a set of suppressor height sights from XS. And because I have a G17 that has a threaded barrel, I switched out the standard big dot sights and I installed the suppressor height sights. So what I ended up with is what? A set of express sights in a little bin that I didn't have a gun to put on. So I go over to the studio where we have our red Glock trainer, the 17R, and that's what we use as a demonstration tool. You guys have watched the TV show. You've seen the red Glock lots and lots and lots of times. Well, I looked down at the red Glock and ding, the light bulb came on. I was like, why don't I have express sights on the red Glock? Well, I've got an extra set now, so let's do it. And you're like, well, all right, big deal, Paul, so you put express sights on your red Glock. The reason I want to share this with you is because I went into the break room, the student of the gun break room, and I started brewing a 6-cup pot of coffee, middle of the afternoon coffee. I went back out into the studio. I disassembled the red Glock. I took off the standard plastic sights that come on it. I put the new XS, or I replaced them with the XS Express sights, front and rear, reassembled the Glock, went back into the break room, and the coffee was just about to be finished. The pot of coffee was not yet finished. So I started brewing a pot of coffee, changed out my sights completely before it finished. That's how quick it is. Now, granted, I've done it before. I have changed out sights on Glocks before. That's one of the beauties of the Glock format, is it's so easy to change out your sights. I mean, you can literally do it at your own workbench. You don't need any special tools. Well, you need a little. Actually, when you buy XS sights,
It comes with the tool.
they send you everything. That's that's really a neat thing about them, is they send you everything you need to change out the sights, with the exception of your gun. So I mean, you start with the gun, and they send you everything else, and you can do it at your bench. All right, Jared, tell us who the XS Sights Good Guy of the Week is, what their question was, and what they need to do to get their cool stuff.
The XS Sights Good Guy of the Week this week is PJ Chief, and he posted his question in the forum. It might be a girl. I don't know. I'm guessing PJ Chief would be a dude. And it says, first, I need you to send your information. I need your name, your mailing address, your phone number, your shirt size, and type in your email. And send that to Alex, ALEX, at studentofthegun.com. And you can CC me, Jared, JARRAD, at studentofthegun.com if you want. PJ Chief says, I fly civilian search and rescue in southern Louisiana, southern LA, I'm assuming that's Louisiana, and am in the market for a small 410 pistol for personal protection against snakes and gators. Yeah, definitely Louisiana.
I don't know how many gators there are in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I know there's some snakes there, but I don't know about gators.
Yeah. However, I will also be pulling summer rotation in Barrow, Arkansas, and need protection from bears. Ooh, that's nice.
No, it's AK is Alaska.
What, this says AK?
Yeah, it says
AK,
AK,
AR.
not AR.
That's not AR.
No, it's not
Wow.
AR. Not
I need to pull my monitor
not
closer.
Armalite rifle. It's Autobat Kalashnikov.
Wow. Maybe I just need new glasses. Barrow, Alaska.
Alaska. That's where the bears.
Yeah, that's what I was like. There's bears and
There's probably
okay.
bears in Arkansas.
Yeah, but I didn't know it'd be a problem there. It says, what is your opinion of the Taurus judge versus the Smith & Wesson governor? That's the first question. And the second question, is the 454 Casull round significantly more advantageous than the 45 long?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. The answer to the last question is absolutely. The 454 Casull is, comparing the 454 and the 45 long Colt is like saying, I've got a 22 and I have a 223 Remington. They're both 22s. Is one more? Yeah, dudes. First of all, don't ever try to put 454 Casull into your judge unless you want it to come apart into little pieces. And I don't believe they will fit in there because they were smart enough to make them so that wouldn't happen. Now, before the judge came out and before the governor came out, there were a lot of 454 Casull pistols. Ruger made one. Freedom Arms is probably the most famous for making a 454. The Raging Bull from Taurus is also a 454. And as you hip cats out there know, if you buy a revolver that is chambered for the 454 Casull cartridge, you can also shoot 45 long Colt in that. Which is obviously a much more milder recoiling cartridge. And the thing is with the Colt, because it's a cowboy cartridge, there's a lot of Colt ammunition out there that's what they essentially call powder puff loads or target loads. It's loaded really soft, just so you can shoot real fast and shoot metal targets. But the cowboy loads, they're just so you can shoot a steel target that's 20 yards away and make it go ding. It's not to kill anything. If you actually needed it as a defensive tool against, fleshy monsters, the lead bullet cowboy loads are not the way to go.
What's Casul? Is that like the dude's name, or?
Yeah, that's the specific cartridge name. You want, if you
Well,
want.
I mean, do you know the background? Like, where did Casul come
you're
from?
going to put me on the spot and give me the Casul history lesson here.
I wasn't sure if you already knew, or.
Well, it has to do. Dick Casul came up with the cartridge, and this goes way back into
the
the
last name.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the 50s, and if you guys know anything about firearms history, what you'll know was that back in the after World War II, 50s and 60s and 70s, we had lots of, I guess you'd call wildcats or firearms developers or designers that think we've got these standard metallic cartridges that shoot soft lead bullets, and people that wanted to compete with guns, people that wanted to hunt with handguns, people that needed to hunt for two-legged predators with handguns, realized real quick that the .38 Smith & Wesson was not going to cut it, and so they started altering things, changing things, and all of you guys that are historians know that Elmer Keith was instrumental in coming up with working with Remington and coming up with the .44 Magnum. But let's get back on topic to the shotgun pistols. All right, your Taurus Judge versus your Smith & Wesson Governor. The Judge has a 5-shot cylinder, and it is chambered for 45 long Colt, but the cylinder is also long enough that you can put 410 shotgun shells in there. And you're like, but Paul, you just said earlier that you couldn't put shotgun shells. No, you can if the gun was originally chambered for a metallic cartridge and has a a rifled barrel. What cracks me up, Jared, is that the Taurus, when they came up with the Judge, they made a real big deal about the Judge's barrel being rifled to put increased spin velocity or something on the shot pattern. And I was like, no, people, the reason that it's threaded rifled. If the barrel was not rifled, then it would be a short-barreled shotgun, and it would be a Class 3 item, and you wouldn't be able to buy it. That's why every gun that you buy, whether it's a Derringer or a single shot or whatever, that's a .45 Colt /410, it has a rifled barrel. Because if it didn't have a rifled barrel, the ATF would get their panties all wadded up, and then they would say that it was, in effect, a short-barreled shotgun. So that is why it has to be rifled. So the Taurus holds 5 rounds. The Governor, the Smith & Wesson Governor, came later. It came after the Judge, and it holds 6 rounds. And both of them will hold .45 Colt and .410, but the Governor has the added benefit that you could use those moon clips, and you could also drop in .45 ACP cartridges. So if you buy the Governor, you can shoot .45 ACP, .45 Long Colt, and .410. And Jared and I both tested out the Governor. What year was that? 11, 12, something?
I think it was 2011.
Yeah,
at SHOT Show.
It was they premiered it at the SHOT Show. I'm thinking 2011, and we went to the Smith & Wesson event at an indoor range where they premiered that and a bunch of other things. That was the year that they premiered the 22 M&P, the M&P 22 pistol, and then we had to wait another year for them to be available. But the Governor, and you remember the cool picture that we got of that, of the ring of fire coming out of it?
Oh, that was the Governor?
Yeah, that was the Governor. You've got
Oh.
the picture of you in the indoor range. You're shooting, and there's this big,
That's you.
perfect.
You were shooting. I took the
perfect
picture.
ring
But
of
yeah.
fire. Yeah,
I'll have to find that and post it on the Facebook page.
that would be a good idea. Anyway,
StudentOftheGun.com/Facebook. Facebook.com/StudentOftheGun.
all right, let's talk about .410 shotguns. The .410 shotgun is interesting. It's unique. It's ironically the most expensive ammunition of all the shotgun shells. I mean, unless you're going to get weird specialty loads like 28 gauges or what have you. But if you go to Academy Outdoors and you price 12 gauge, 20 gauge, and .410 ammo, apples to apples, oranges to oranges, the .410 is going to be more expensive. And you're like, why? It's smaller. That doesn't make any sense. I know. But the fact of the matter is the judge, I know Taurus always gets a bad rap, but the judge is a good pistol. When they first came out, I was kind of like, whatever. I've seen 410 revolvers before, and they never really, sparked my interest. And my good friend Dave Biggers called me up, and he goes, hey, I got one of these. And I put a big dot XS, because he was working for XS at the time. He said, put a big dot on it, and I said, yeah, I'm not really interested. He goes, no, you need to be interested. I'm going to send you this gun. So he sent me the gun. I tried it out. I wrote an article about it. And I was really impressed at, A, how smooth the action was, and B, how well it handled. Taurus they are smart enough to put nice, thick, cushy rubber grips on it. Now, is the 410 revolver the end-all, be-all of all self-defense guns? No, it's not. It's a large gun. It's a very large gun. And, compare the Judge to a Glock 19 or an M&P Compact or something like that. Obviously, you get a lot more shots for much smaller of a package from something like a Glock or a Smith & Wesson. Is it unique, and does it work? Yeah, it works. If you're looking to shoot snakes, rock on. If you're looking to shoot gators, I think if you shot a gator with a 410 shotgun shell, he would probably look at you and be really annoyed as he was eating you. I would not, if it was the difference between poking a bear with a stick and shooting it with a 45 long Colt, I would shoot it with the 45 long Colt, but I also think that the bear would just be annoyed as it was, finishing up eating you. I don't see the 45 long Colt as a bear defense round unless you put one through his eyeball into his brain or something like that. But yeah, if a brown bear decides he wants to make you his dinner and you're shooting at him with a 45 long Colt, you probably need to have about a truckload of 45 long Colt to shoot him with. What I would say to you is this. The Taurus Judge is probably the least expensive of all of them. I know it is. I know it's way less expensive than the Governor. The Governor, I don't even know what they cost. They're probably pushing $700, $800, $900. Taurus came out with a special 3-inch Magnum version. I think that's really kind of pointless. But if you want one, hey, rock on. You're an American. Buy it. Here's my advice to you: go to a local gun shop and find yourself an original 2.5-inch cylinder Judge, a standard configuration Judge in matte stainless or whatever. Pick it up, buy it, use it, try a bunch of different stuff out, see how you like it. It's a fun gun to shoot. It's some people in the gun community are like, that's pointless. It's a toy. It's ridiculous. Am I telling you to sell your Glock 19 or your SIG, P226 and buy a Judge? No. I'm not telling you that at all. If I was going to be in an area where I knew there was going to be lots of slimy critters that might bite me, yeah, I would do that. We've been killing snakes with 410 shotgun shells for decades and decades and decades. A lot of you old-timers out there will remember the Snake Charmers, the 410 single-shot shotguns. A lot of the Snake Charmers were really popular back in the 80s and even the 90s, I believe. But for some reason, they kind of fell off. They're not as, people aren't as excited about them anymore as they are, probably because the Judge came out. And for all the Judge haters out there, the Judge is the gun that basically put Taurus on the map, or at least the current map as far as the firearms industry. And it was, when it first came out, people were like, yeah, that's kind of a silly idea. And within 1 year, it was their number one selling item. Now, I don't know if that still is the case. I would venture to say it's probably pretty close. As far as Smith & Wesson is concerned, since the Governor came out a few years ago, I don't have any idea what the popularity and the sales are, or how available they are. I know that when I go into gun shops, I'll go into a gun shop and I won't necessarily see a bunch of Governors laying around. Well, I hope, PJ Chief, that has answered your question. And I will say one more thing before we go. The neat thing about something like a Judge or a Governor or what have you is the fact that there is so much 410 ammunition available now, and the reason that there's this wide variety of 410 ammunition, from really tiny shot shells, shot loads, to slugs, to slug and buck combos, to like double-aught, triple-aught buck. The reason that exists is because of the 410 handguns. That stuff, if you'd have gone to Winchester 15 years ago and said, hey, we need you to come up with 3 or 4 different 410 loads, they'd look at you like you were crazy. They're like, yeah, I don't think so. But they can sell them today. And some of the companies actually, I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but I went into Academy and I saw they had the combo pack. You could buy 10 rounds of 410 and like 10 rounds of 45 long Colt defensive ammo, and it was packed in one single package, and you could buy it as a combination. So that's kind of a cool thing. All right. Moving on, before we go, this next segment is brought to you by our friends at Velocity Triggers, designed for precision. Go to velocitytriggers.com. If you got a black rifle, they got something for you. And if you own a black rifle or any gun, any firearm whatsoever, even if you don't own a gun, Brownells has something for you. Go to brownells.com, check out their entire catalog of emergency supplies, gun parts, and all that good stuff. And let's not forget about our friends at SWAT Fuel and SWATfuel.com. Check those guys out at SWATfuel.com. If you decide that you want to make a purchase, and hey, why wouldn't you? You want to put in the promo code SOTG2014. And if you do that, you're going to save yourself a full 20% off of your total order. And this gives me a good segue to it's March now. And what do we do all January through February? Well, we did the SWAT Fuel Challenge, where we challenged you, everybody out there in the audience, to get yourself a little more healthy, a little more in shape than you were otherwise. And lots of people do that. Lots of Americans do the, they make the New Year's resolutions. And I'm going to go to the gym. And the first week of January, the gyms are crowded and nobody can get into them. And then by February 1st, they're ghost towns again. Folks, don't be that guy. And I don't care whether you decide you want to buy SWAT Fuel or not. I want you, my listening audience, I want you to have a healthy body, which will, in effect, support a healthy mind. Because in this day and age, you need to be sharp. You need to have a strong body, and you need to have a strong mind. And SWAT Fuel is just one of the ways to do that. And if you want to know all the intricate details of SWAT Fuel, what's in it, and all that jazz, just go to their website, go to SWATfuel.com. All the information's there. All right. Let's talk about rights. And Jared posted an article to Student of the Gun blog this week, or actually it was last week. And the title of it is essentially, does only the majority have rights? Or do you have to be in the majority to have rights? And you're like, well, what do you mean, Paul? Oh, that's a silly question. That's ridiculous. Of course you don't. Well, do you really believe that? I'm going to ask you guys that. Do you believe that if you're in the minority, if your opinion is either a popular minority or a numerical minority, or do the rights that's codified in the Bill of Rights, do they still apply to you? And we've got people. The reason I'm doing this on the radio is because I think it's an important topic. Number one, in the United States of America today, everything has become a right. Anytime a group or an organization or a special interest group, anytime that they decide that whatever it is that they want, that they deserve whatever it is that they want, every time that happens, they come out and they say that it is their right. Whether it's reproductive rights or health care rights or all these different rights. Everything's a right. Well, I'm going to set the tone for you right now. When everything is a right, nothing is a right.
Did you come up with that, or did somebody else say that?
Actually, that thought came up. It came up when I was talking to your Uncle Dave. And he was frustrated about, it was some company or some group that came out with something rights. He goes, this rights, we have, and in our camp we have gun rights, and we have now we have to have knife rights, and we have to have this rights and that rights and so forth. And Dave was frustrated, and we basically kind of molded in our heads. And I said, well, when everything is a right, nothing is a right. Because when you make everything that everybody wants in the world, quote, a right, then you water down the entire concept. And when I say a right, I'm talking about capital R-I-G-H-T. I'm talking about something that was granted to you, an inalienable right. An inalienable right. Do you understand what inalienable means? It means it's not only something that cannot be taken away from you, that no one on planet Earth has the authority to take away from you. It's also something that you can't surrender, that you cannot voluntarily surrender. That's a pretty big deal. It's a huge deal. And a lot of you folks in the United States of America, a lot of your neighbors, a lot of your friends, and a lot of your family have no concept of what a genuine, inalienable right is. There are very, very few of them. And the reason that there are so few is because they are so precious and so powerful. But when you make everything a right, healthcare rights, reproductive rights, job rights, this right, that right, everything's a right. Anything, let's face it, folks, in modern America, anything that anyone decides that they want or desire morphs into a right. Some group morphs it into a right. Healthcare rights. Where in the Constitution, where in the Bill of Rights is it codified that healthcare rights are a natural right? Well, right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. Really? So you think, and they're like, oh, it's up to, and here's the problem, or what you guys understand, I'm sure, is that every time something becomes a right, they claim it's a right. They also claim that the government has to provide that or force their neighbors to provide that for them.
Well, that would be where the problem lies, because when you get the government involved in being able to enforce the rights, they can also take them away.
Exactly. When you decide that
I didn't know athlete had 3 syllables.
Athlete, that's right. Yeah, some of you will get it, some of you won't. That's okay. For those that don't get it, just keep following along. Eventually you will. All right, but yeah, when you say that that the government is in charge of dispensing rights, what you're also saying is that the state, if they can dispense a right, then they can also restrict or remove a right. And well, what does this all just have to do with only the majority has rights? Well, I'll tell you why. We, as the choir, as the good guys, as the pro-gun people, we've fallen into this trap where we believe, and this is detailed in the article, but that we have to be all-inclusive. That if we don't include every single group in our camp, our tent, then we're not in the majority, and therefore, I guess we don't have rights. You're like, no. We still believe that we have the rights. You're like, yeah, you say you believe that, but you don't behave in that way. And in the article, I'm going to go ahead and pull the quote up for you right now. Or Jared, could you pull it up and drop it in the show notes? Yeah, just drop the link to the rights article into the show notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll add that into the
show add it into the show notes. And if you guys aren't reading the show notes, you know that you can go to Student of the Gun Radio, all those words combined together, studentofthegunradio.com, every day of the week, well, Monday through Thursday. And everything we talk about in the show, everything that we highlight, every news source that we use is in the show notes. So if you want to share it with friends or
Did you mention that this was on PatriotFireTeam.com?
You know what? No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah.
Here's what I said is I said it was on the blog.
Oh, no, this is on PatriotFireTeam.com.
Okay.
This is more for the Patriot Fire Team crowd, but it's also for Student of the Gun.
It's for everybody. So, but we made it available first to Patriot Fire Team. That's right. And quite frankly, I didn't mention that, so it's a good thing that you brought it up. But my point is this, is when we're reaching out to other people, when we're reaching out to try and expand our audience, are we doing so by remaining true to our core values? Or are we modifying and softening our stance in order to attract more people?
I'm pretty sure that it would be one of the reasons that gun control has got so far.
Well, what we do is if we say, well, and I actually had someone I was in a professional setting with other gun industry people, and this person said, we, as in these hardcore pro-Second Amendment, pro-liberty guys, we're always dealing and talking in absolutes. And women don't like absolutes, right? Women like to have choices. Women like reasonable stances. And so therefore, if we want to attract more women to our side, we need to stay away from absolutes. Like the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, means exactly what it says it does. And no, you cannot restrict that right. Well, you can't. We need to be reasonable, Paul, because we're never going to get more women on board if we don't modify our tone. We're never going to get more young people on board if they think that this rights thing is just for old white guys. Well, folks, here's what I'm going to tell you. And did you put that in there? Okay. This is a great quote, and you guys know that I like to read, and I like to recommend reading to you as well.
I went to his house last night. Oh, it was probably, 10:30?
Yeah, about 10:30.
Yeah, he was sitting out on the porch reading a book, smoking a cigar.
Yeah. If you seriously want to be, people are like, well, how do I become a writer? Read. Step number 1, read a lot. Read actual books. Get these dead tree paper things with these pages and put them in front of your eyeballs and read them. But anyway, Sun Tzu in his book, The Art of War. And I don't know exactly when Sun Tzu when he wrote the Book of War or when he said this. Let's just go ahead and say 500 years ago. Here's an excellent quote, and this is in the article, but it says, never try to win someone over by changing your strategy in hopes of befriending them. False friends are worse than true enemies. And you're like, yeah, but that doesn't apply to us. Really, does it not? Let me ask you something. Consider your own life. Consider your peer group. Consider your friends and your family. You're listening to me right now because you, at very least, consider yourself a gun kind of person, or you wouldn't be listening to Student of the Gun. So after the Sandy Hook media shame campaign, the media shame campaign? Yeah, media shame campaign. When every time a bad person uses a gun to commit an atrocity, we are treated 24/7 by the big media shaming us and telling us how we are to blame and how we need more restrictions. It's a shame campaign. It's 100% deliberate, and it's on purpose. It's not an accident. So after the Sandy Hook big media shame campaign, how many of your friends, family members, relatives, coworkers, whatever, how many people that were gun culture people or considered themselves gun people or gun owners, how many of them shut up about it? How many of them stopped talking in public about being a gun owner? How many of them only spoke about guns in quiet whispers, or how many of them would look left and right before they would say anything about guns or owning guns? How many of them, after the Sandy Hook shame campaign, these gun owners started spouting off about reasonable restrictions and meeting the other side halfway? And how many of them told you, oh, you need to just, you can't, be all hardcore and absolute. You need to understand that the only way we're going to win this fight is to be reasonable and to, what? I'm sorry? Excuse me? So the only way I can maintain my rights, my God-given natural rights, the only way I can maintain those is to surrender some of them, is to voluntarily give some of them up. Thomas Paine, in his very famous speech from December of 1776, said, "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered." And you say, well, how does that apply today? I'm going to tell you exactly how it applies today. everybody, and this is what Thomas Paine was saying, it was cool at the very beginning in 1775, after Lexington and Concord, after we drove the British out of Boston. It was cool to be part of the group, part of the clique, part of the rebels. Well, in December of 1776, things weren't looking good for the rebellion. Most of the founding fathers were in hiding. They were afraid that they were going to be captured by the Redcoats, by the regulars, by the British Army. We had narrowly escaped not one but two defeats. Basically, we had strategic withdrawals where we escaped from New York, escaped from White Plains. Washington's army had crossed the Delaware River into New Jersey. Into Delaware River into Pennsylvania. And it was getting cold. The 1-year enlistments for a lot of Washington's troops were getting ready to expire. Washington knew, if you read the book 1776, an excellent read. You need to read that book if you're a patriot. If you read Founding Brothers, if you read, you'll see that December of 1776, when Thomas Paine gave this speech, it wasn't cool to be a patriot. Things were looking glum. Everybody wants to be your buddy. Everybody wants to be part of the cool crowd when it's easy, when it's sunny, when it's nice. But when things get cold, when the media comes out with a huge shame campaign and tries to make gun owners feel ashamed, that's what has worked and succeeded in countries like England and in Canada, where you don't speak publicly.
Coming to the U.S.
Yeah, you don't speak publicly in England or Canada about being pro-gun or a gun owner.
You get arrested for quoting somebody.
Yeah, I mean, in England, you get arrested for standing on the street corner quoting Winston Churchill. But what Paine was saying is, hey, the sunshine or the summer soldiers and sunshine patriots, they're not going to last. And what I'm going to ask you, if you're a part of this, we need to be more inclusive. If you've bought into that, you're like, well, we got to have more people on our side. You don't understand, Paul. We don't have enough women. We don't have enough gays. We don't have enough blacks. We don't have enough of Gen Xers or young people, college students. We don't have enough of them. We need to create more inclusive campaigns to attract them to our side. And I would say yes, asterisk, as long as you maintain the message. But if you're talking about softening the message, changing the message, altering your strategy in order to appease what Sun Tzu refers to as the non-sympathetic, here's what you're doing. You're recruiting summer soldiers and sunshine patriots. That's what you're recruiting. And if those people, these people that you're coming up with all these cool marketing ad campaigns and inclusive things and all this hipster stuff, they'll hang with you until it becomes difficult. They'll be right there until the winds turn cold, until it's no longer cool to be a gun guy. And then they will fade away. They'll blow away like chaff in the wind. So why are we spending all this time recruiting? I think that as a gun culture, as a shooting sports industry, we've mistaken recruiting for fighting. We think that if we just can recruit more people, then we'll win. Folks, we've already won. We have already won. Our rights are codified in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is not, well, the government hereby grants you these rights. No. That's the opposite. The Bill of Rights, it doesn't matter if you are in the popular minority or the numerical minority. The United States of America was founded as a representative republic, not a strict democracy. And the next time somebody says we're a democracy, smack them in the side of the head and tell them that they are a retard. The United States of America is not a democracy. Democracy is this: mob rule. Whoever can get the most votes wins. If we decide tomorrow that everyone has voted against you owning a gun, you don't get to own a gun. If we decide tomorrow that everyone has voted that you have to be a Muslim, you have to be a Muslim. That's a democracy. You know, a strict democracy is 2 wolves and 1 sheep voting over what's for lunch. Okay? A representative republic is 2 wolves, 1 sheep, and the sheep has a gun. Okay? I know
that was pretty good.
That's really simplistic. But so, folks, you don't have to be in the majority to have rights. And instead of focusing on recruiting by softening and modifying our message, maybe we might want to focus on fighting and maintaining our rights. And that brings us right up to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's important. If you haven't read the article yet, go to patriotfireteam.com and check it out. It's there for you to lay out. Share it with your friends, repost it, do whatever you need to do.
And if you are a member of the Patriot Fire Team, if you're on the email list, if you put in your little email, if you click the button, put in your name and email, then you have already gotten that in an email. So if you want to know about this stuff when it happens, if you want to be up to date with the new and cool Patriot Fire Team stuff, if you're a Patriot, then you need to be a part of the Patriot Fire Team.
Yeah, Jared spent a lot of time redesigning the site. It's new, it's cool, it's ready for you right now. All right, that's it, folks. That's all we got to say for today. We'll talk to you tomorrow. But until then, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.